All right, it is Monday, January 27th, and tonight's homework is going to look like this. It's an independent practice worksheet where we are subtracting fractions. Our main focus for this exercise is regrouping or borrowing with subtraction. And our number one is 9/3 minus 2.5. And the first thing we're going to take a look at is our denominators, which are unalike, and we need them to be alike to be able to add or subtract. The denominators must be the same. I'm not going to spend any time on finding a common denominator right now, as the focus of this is the borrowing and regrouping portion. They have had lots of practice finding a lowest common denominator, and we will go over that in class a little more if they're still struggling there. But I will tell you that your common denominator between these two numbers is going to be a 6. So in order to rewrite these fractions using a denominator of 6, you're going to ask yourself, what do I multiply 3 by to get 6? And that is 2. So you must also multiply that numerator by 2. We're going to come down here and we're going to rewrite this to our new fraction. So 1/3 has become 2/6. It is easier to write these problems vertically, so now we're going to move on to our second fraction. What do we need to multiply 2 by to get 6? And that is 3. Whatever you do to denominator, you also do to numerator. We're going to rewrite this now as 2 and 3/6. So now we have matching denominators. Our second step is to evaluate our fractions and ask ourselves, can we do 2/6, take away 3/6? No, we can't. We can't take 3 away from 2. So what we're going to have to do is borrow. Like when you borrow in regular subtraction, you're still going to borrow when you're subtracting fractions. You are going to borrow 1 from your whole and add it to your fraction. So we're going to borrow 1 from our 9. That will be 8. And we're going to come over and add the one that we borrowed to our fraction part. It needs to be a fraction. We are going to stick with the same denominator, so we are going to add that whole that we borrowed in fraction form, 6 out of 6, and then rewrite. So now we have 8 and 8/6 minus 2 and 3/6. Now we can subtract. 8 minus 3 is 5. So 8/6 minus 3/6 is 5/6. 8 minus 2, now we subtract our wholes, is 6. So our final answer is 6 and 5/6. 5/6 cannot be simplified. It is in its simplest form, so this is our final answer. Now let's move on to the second one. Our denominators are not the same. Our common denominator here is going to be 10. So we are going to rewrite these fractions with a common denominator. How do we get to 10 from 5? We are going to multiply by 2. What you do to the denominator, you do the exact same thing to the numerator. So you'll be multiplying both of these by 2. Same thing with the next one. To get to 10, you're going to multiply that denominator by 5. You must also multiply your numerator by 5. So we are going to rewrite this. It'll be 7 and 4/10. 2 times 2 is 4. 5 times 2 is 10. Take away 3. 1 times 5 is 5. 2 times 5 is 10. Now we are back to having to borrow and regroup. We cannot take away 5/10 from 4/10. We need to increase the amount we have here by borrowing. So we're going to borrow 1 from our whole. So our 7 becomes 6. And that one we borrow, we're going to bring it over here, and we're going to add it to our fraction part in the fraction form, 10 out of 10. So let's rewrite now. We have 6. 4 plus 4/10 plus 10/10 is 14/10. Take away 3 and 5/10. Now we're going to subtract. Subtract the fractions first. 14 minus 5 is 9, so we have 9/10. 6 minus 3. This is our simplest form. We cannot reduce that at all, so your final answer is 3 and 9/10. Moving on to the last one. 7 1/6 plus 2 3/4. Now we're going to have to find a common denominator. And we are going to use 12. And again, we will go over finding common denominators again with this tomorrow if we're having a hard time deciding how to find that. They should know how to list out the multiples and decide what our common denominator should be. And it's going to be 12. So we have 7 and 12 minus 2, 12. What times 6 equals 12? 2. So that means that numerator gets multiplied by 2. 2 times 1 is 2. This is rewritten as 7 and 2/12. 4 times 3 is 12. So that means that numerator gets multiplied by 3. So our next number is rewritten 2 and 9/12. And you will see now we have 2/12. Take away 9/12. We're going to have to borrow. Borrow 1 from your 7, it becomes a 6, and you add it on over here. 12 out of 12. We are keeping our denominators the same, and to keep this equal to a whole, because we're taking a whole from here, converting it to a fraction, and adding it to our fraction pieces, that means we have 12 out of 12 pieces. Let's rewrite this to 6 2/12 plus 12/12 is 14/12 minus 2 and 9/12. Subtract your fraction parts first. So we have, here we go. 14, take away 9, which is 5. So we have 5/12. 6 minus 2 is 4. Final answer, 4 and 5/12. That cannot be simplified. 5/12 is in its simplest form. And that is how we regroup when we subtract fractions. If we're having trouble finding common denominators, I will link a couple videos in the description of this one that helps further explain how we found the denominators we found. And make sure you write out all your work. Maybe put a star by anything that you're having trouble with so we can touch on that tomorrow. And good luck with your homework tonight and have a great night.